Hey everyone, welcome to Images Matter. This is something we're doing new on TIFF.net, and we're going to be streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. My name is Cameron Bailey. I'm the artistic director and co-head at TIFF. Thanks for joining us. Today, I'm inviting you to watch a film from the National Film Board of Canada, which is available for free from the NFB. It's called Home Feeling: Struggle for a Community, directed by Jennifer Hodge and Roger McTair. This documentary was first released in 1984, but it really continues to be timely, especially now as more people are talking about how policing affects communities here in Canada. And our guest is the co-director of the film, Roger McTair. Before we get started, a few shout outs. I just want to acknowledge that we are on Indigenous land, and I'd like to acknowledge Indigenous storytellers from coast to coast to coast. We'd also like to thank all the frontline workers who have been working for months to keep us safe and healthy and fed. And we want to acknowledge and thank our government partners. The Government of Canada, the Government of Ontario, and the City of Toronto have been supporting TIFF for many, many years. And big thanks also to our corporate partners, beginning with our lead sponsor, Bell, and our major sponsors, RBC, L'Oreal Paris, and Visa. Thanks also to our donors and members, maybe you, individuals who support us, and we're thankful for that, especially now. TIFF is a not-for-profit organization, and we have been hit hard, like so many have been, by the pandemic. So to ensure we get through this time and we can come back strong, we created the For the Love of Film Fund. So if you can, I invite you to make a gift today, and you can donate at tiff.net/loveoffilm. And if you're joining us on YouTube, I think there's a donate button on the upper right of your screen, and you can hit that, and thank you for that. Roger McTair, the co-director of Home Feeling: Struggle for a Community, is a Trinidadian Canadian poet, short story writer, lecturer, and one of Canada's leading and pioneering documentary filmmakers whose work focused for many years on multiculturalism and anti-racism. In the 1980s and 90s, he made a number of films in collaboration with his filmmaking partner, Claire Prieto, under Prieto McTair Productions. He's a founding member of the Black Film and Video Network and the Black Filmmakers Foundation in New York City. And over the 23 years of his filmmaking career, he directed or produced groundbreaking works in Black Canadian cinema, such as Journey to Justice in 2000, Jennifer Hodge, The Glory and the Pain in 1991, Home to Buxton in 1987, and Home Feeling, the film we're talking about today. Just 2 years ago, in 2018, he published his latest book, My Trouble with Books, a collection of short stories. Roger McTair, welcome to Images Matter.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for doing
That's a lot of research.
You did a lot. You did a lot. You had a big career. You've had a big career. You know, you shot this movie with Jennifer Hodge in the early 80s in 1983. For those who don't know the film and don't know the Jane Finch community in Toronto, can you just go back to 1983, Jane Finch, maybe describe that neighborhood for us and what you and Jennifer Hodge were attracted to in trying to make a film about the people who lived there?
Well, the community was a Ontario housing project.
That's public housing then.
Yes, so there were a lot of people, a lot of kids especially, in that neighborhood. I used to be up there with a group called the Maroons, which is a friend of mine called Alexander Francis, Frano for short. He used to work up there, and I used to go up there and hang out with the guys. And there were always problems with the police. Always. Every day there was some problem with the police.
What kind of problems?
Well, the kids used to say that the police were harassing them. And the police thought that the guys were smoking marijuana, which they were. But that was just how it was. You know, kids used to be on the corner all the time. And they couldn't understand why the police kept telling them they got to get off the corner. So it was that kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm. You know, one thing that I remember from, and many people have studied this, sociologists and others, there's some cultures where hanging out on the corner is totally natural and normal, and people are used to doing it where they grow up. In Canada in the early 80s, maybe it wasn't so normal, and it's something that maybe the authorities felt needed to be policed, but they were just doing what they were used to doing, what their culture told them. This is how you see your friends, you hang out.
Yeah, and what used to happen was that the kids would come home from school, and there was nothing for them to do inside. So they'd come outside and be on the corner, or and they would congregate. And it wasn't a big deal. I used to be up there, and I never saw anything that was
Hmm.
illegal or anything.
There's a Trinidadian word for
Um,
that, hanging out. What do we call it? Liming.
I, I don't I don't know if I know the word, but hanging out in most black communities, you have this hangout word. You know, people talk about hanging out.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, so I think every community that I know, and I know a lot of black communities, they used to use the phrase "hanging out."
Hmm.
You know, which meant that you stood by the corner, you stood at a with your friends and talked
Right. Until the police told you to move along.
until the police told you to move along.
All
Yeah.
right. So, tell us more about the film that you chose to make with Jennifer Hodge, Home Feeling Struggle for Community, because it is about how people living in that neighborhood, mostly immigrants, many Black immigrants, dealt with not just the police but social services, with trying to find a job, with just trying to get by in society, and feeling under pressure in various ways.
Things were pretty bad up there. It was an immigrant community and a lot of single parents. Um, and I think that because of the nature of the community, um, people simply people. I'm sorry, I just got lost my thought there.
Mhm.
Um, but the people would get together on a regular basis. They partied because that was the nature of the Caribbean community on a regular basis.
Mhm. Can you talk a little bit about getting the film board to make this film? National Film Board of Canada, of course, started in the late 1930s, legendary for making some groundbreaking documentaries. This was the big institution in Canada that made films, and its documentaries were award-winning all over the world. Was it difficult to get them to tell the story of the community and Jane Finch, or had you already developed a relationship with the NFB?
I had a relationship with the people in Jane Finch. I used to go up there and hang out.
Hmm.
So I had a relationship with Frano, my buddy,
Hmm.
and I had a relationship with some of the guys hanging up there.
But not the National Film Board.
Huh?
What was your relationship like with the NFB?
Well, I was trying to get the NFB to do films that they didn't do, and Jennifer came to me and said, um, "I want to make a film on Jane and Finch," and I thought that's a wonderful idea. But I'd like you to be on it because I know you know a lot of people from the Caribbean up there, and I know you always up there because I've done my research. Uh, so I said, yeah, I'll do it without
Mhm.
a doubt. Because as I said, I like Gin and Finch. I like the guys up there. Um, so I just said, yeah, I'll do it. It was a no brainer.
One of the things with documentary filmmakers that's really critical to getting a good film made is access, being able to have the trust of the people that you're putting on screen. It sounds like you already had this from before you started shooting. That
I
trust.
had that from before for the simple reason that I said I used to be up there quite a lot.
Hmm.
So I used to be up there quite a bit. I knew a lot of people up there. I knew a lot of Jamaicans up there, a lot of Jamaican guys. Frano is Jamaican, I'm not, but we were good friends, and so I used to be up there all the time.
Hmm.
So we had access. We had a lot of access, and people had known me. People had known me from before
Hmm.
because I used to be there. I used to play basketball with some of the guys up there, and I knew Gramps, another a guy who was I think he got a Bishop's.
Hmm.
He was a basketball wizard actually.
Hmm.
Strangely enough, he called me like a week ago. So yeah, the access was there. The access was
Now,
absolutely there.
the people that you did put on screen, were they aware of what this might mean? That people would still be watching the film almost 40 years later? That
No,
it would really teach so many people about what it was like to live in a community under surveillance like that?
no. I don't think so. I think we did the film. John Creamer, who was the producer, helped us quite a bit. Uh, I don't think anybody thought that 40 years later the film would still be shown,
Hmm.
quite frankly.
We see that people go through a lot, being stopped, sometimes picked up by the police, trying to apply for jobs, not trying to navigate the government bureaucracy in some cases. After the film and after we saw them go through all of that, did you stay in touch with some of them? Do you have a sense of how they were able to get through to the next stage in their lives?
Yes, I did. Some of the guys, like a guy called Trevor. Trevor was a very good friend of mine, and Trevor was looking for a job. He talked about on the film. I was trying to find a job as an interior decorator, which he was not qualified for.
That's right. Yes.
He wasn't qualified for that job at all. But yeah, we had access. We had a lot of access, and again, because I used to be up there quite a bit, it was easy. It was relatively easy.
Did the film help them at all in terms of just people understanding what they were going through and maybe coming in to offer them some help after they saw it?
Yes, I think it did. Some of the guys got jobs, which was interesting because for a little while they couldn't get a job. Chubby, who went to prison for 6 months because the cops said he spit at him. Chubby went off and he went back to work. He was working with a construction company. He went back to work. Yeah, people change. I mean, what's her name? Rosemary Brown got a job. She ended up working with a Walmart or something up there. Yeah, things change for some people.
Things did change.
Like the film would have been the cops. The cops. Yes. I remember telling the superintendent of police, who was a public relations person, that I had directed the film, and he said, "Aren't you ashamed of yourself?" And I said, "What's the name of yourself?" Yeah, what? He told me, "Aren't you ashamed of yourself?" I said, "No," because the community came out to see the film. When we showed the film, the community came out. At least 200 people came out to see the film.
The film really just observes what the community and the police are doing, how they interact. And one of the shots that really jumps out at people who might not have lived in public housing in a community like that is that the police are in their apartment buildings, walking down the halls, have been known to just go into people's apartments and search them. And I'm wondering about shooting scenes like that. Is that something that the police didn't want to be known?
Well, I don't think they thought we were going to shoot it. And I don't remember. I don't remember the police going into the apartment, but I know people said that the police have searched their apartments when they weren't there. But I didn't see that. But people did say that. And people said it on a number of occasions. I came into my apartment and the cops were in my apartment.
Wow.
So, but the police were they were there all the time.
You and Jennifer Hodge, who made Home Feeling together, and then you and Claire Prieto, who was your filmmaking partner for many years, you really were pioneers in terms of Black filmmaking in Canada. You were one of the first members of the Black Film and Video Network, where you were the elder. You and Claire were the elders. Jennifer Hodge sadly passed of cancer in, I think was it 1990 or 1989 when she died?
I think about 89.
Yeah. So can you tell us just a little bit about what it was like when you were first starting? You are an immigrant to Canada yourself. When you landed in Canada and you wanted to start making films, what was that like?
It was difficult. I got close to Phil Fraser, who has also passed away, and Phil had made a film on Set in the Prairies, and he was from Trinidad originally, but he had come here sometime in the 60s. And I got close to Phil. I got close to Terry Philgate,
the producer of the National Film Board.
Yeah, he actually, I think he was the National Film Board at the time. So I can't remember. Paul Silva was also around looking to make films. It was difficult, but it was an exciting time.
Roger, I want to finish by asking you what you would say to someone watching Home Feeling struggle for a community now. There are many people who would be interested in seeing this film about how the police and a immigrant community interact who weren't born when you made it. People who are dealing with police surveillance, police violence, many other things that are in the film almost 40 years later. What would you say to someone young today in Canada who might be seeing things in this movie and feel like, oh, I live through this right now?
Well, it's really ironic when I look at the demonstrations with I'm losing it again.
Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, when I look at the kids on the street in the States, Black Lives Matter. I think this is exactly how, because we had a number of demonstrations during that period in the early days. It looks a lot like the same thing, like the same thing that happened. But what do I tell kids? What I tell kids, you gotta keep trucking. There's the only thing you can keep on doing. You gotta keep working at it. I wish that some of the kids would more participate with what is happening. But at least they're there. I think I don't think we ever pulled a demonstration as big as the one that happened in Chicago, or the one that happened in New York.
There was big ones across Canada too. And
there was a big one across Canada. And I looked outside and I thought, wow, this is like the old days.
So you're not discouraged that people are still protesting the same things they were protesting in the 1980s?
No, I'm not discouraged. I think people are more political now. The young people that I have met are a lot more educated, and they're more political than we were when we were growing up. Although some of us belonged to the Black Panther Party, some of us were. It was a very political time. The 60s were extremely political.
Mm-hmm. Well, Roger, thank you so much. Thank you for making Home Feeling struggle for a community with Jennifer Hodge. Thanks for taking the time today. The film is available at the National Film Board of Canada's platform, and you can find it there. Please watch it and think back to the work that you did, Roger, in 1983 and 84, and how it's still so relevant today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks.